Welcome to Lesson 15.5, where we advance our prompt engineering skills to focus on iteration and refinement. In our previous lessons, we learned about the persona technique and the rhetorical prompting method with context and constraints. Today, we build on those foundations by exploring how to achieve excellence through iterative dialogue with AI systems. The reality of working with generative AI is that great output rarely emerges from a single prompt. Instead, it develops through a conversation, a back-and-forth process of refinement that mirrors how we work with human collaborators. We will explore chain-of-thought prompting, which breaks complex tasks into logical steps, and we will master the art of iterative refinement, where each AI response becomes the foundation for further improvement. These advanced techniques will transform your AI interactions from simple question-and-answer exchanges into powerful collaborative sessions that produce increasingly sophisticated outputs. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to tackle complex grant writing tasks that would be impossible to accomplish with a single prompt. The most fundamental shift in becoming an effective AI user is adopting an iterative mindset. Many people approach AI like a vending machine. They put in a prompt and expect a finished product to come out. This approach leads to frustration and mediocre results. Instead, think of AI as a junior colleague or research assistant. When you assign work to a junior team member, you do not expect perfection on the first attempt. You expect a reasonable starting point that you will review, provide feedback on, and help refine. The same applies to AI collaboration. Your first prompt should be designed to generate a solid foundation, not a final product. That initial response then becomes the material you work with, identifying what is good, what needs improvement, and what direction to take next. Each subsequent prompt refines the output, adding depth, correcting errors, adjusting tone, and incorporating missing elements. This iterative process is not a sign that AI has failed or that your prompting skills are weak. It is simply how quality work develops, whether with human or AI collaborators. Let us examine why single prompt approaches often fail, especially for complex grant writing tasks. First, complex tasks inherently require nuanced understanding that is difficult to convey in a single prompt. When you ask AI to write a needs statement, there are dozens of implicit decisions about tone, emphasis, evidence types, and narrative structure that you may not think to specify initially. Second, AI cannot read your mind. You may have strong preferences about how something should sound or what should be emphasized, but until you see a draft that does not match those preferences, you may not even be aware of them. Third, context develops through dialogue. As AI produces content and you respond, both parties develop a richer understanding of the task. The AI learns your preferences, and you learn what the AI does well and where it needs guidance. Finally, refinement reveals hidden requirements. Often you do not know what you need until you see what you do not want. That first draft might be technically correct but miss the emotional resonance you wanted. Only through iteration can you identify and address these hidden requirements. The iterative refinement cycle follows a structured four-step process. In step 1, you craft an initial prompt using the techniques we have learned, including persona, context, task, and constraints. This prompt should be comprehensive but does not need to anticipate every possible issue. In step 2, you carefully review the AI's output, identifying both strengths to preserve and gaps to address. Be specific in your analysis. Do not just note that something is wrong. Identify exactly what is missing, weak, or misaligned. In step 3, you provide specific feedback in a follow-up prompt. This is where many people go wrong. Vague feedback like "make it better" produces vague improvements. Instead, give precise direction, such as expand the second paragraph to include specific statistics, make the tone more urgent, or restructure to lead with the strongest evidence. In step 4, you repeat this cycle until the output meets your standards. Some tasks might require 2 or 3 iterations, while complex projects might need 10 or more. The number of iterations is not a measure of failure, but of thoroughness. Crafting effective follow-up prompts is an art that dramatically impacts the quality of your iterations. Specificity is paramount. Instead of saying "make it longer," specify exactly where expansion is needed, such as expand the third paragraph to include at least 3 statistical data points. Reference the output directly by citing specific sections, sentences, or ideas. This helps the AI understand exactly which part of its response you are addressing. Phrases like in the section where you discuss outcomes or the sentence beginning with our program can provide precise anchoring. Give clear direction about the type of change you want. Change the tone is vague, but shift from passive to active voice throughout the evaluation section is actionable. Perhaps most importantly, explicitly preserve what works. AI systems sometimes overcorrect, changing things that were already good. By stating keep the compelling opening narrative, but revise the conclusion to end on a forward-looking note, you protect the elements you value while directing changes where needed. Mastering follow-up prompts accelerates your iterations and produces better results. Chain of thought prompting is a powerful technique for tackling complex tasks that require analysis, reasoning, or multi-step processes. The core insight is that large language models produce better outputs when they are instructed to reason explicitly through a problem rather than jumping directly to an answer. The simplest implementation is to add the phrase "think" step by step to your prompt. This seemingly simple instruction causes the AI to break down its reasoning process, which often leads to more accurate and comprehensive responses. For grant writing, this technique is particularly valuable when you need to analyze complex requirements, evaluate proposals against multiple criteria, or synthesize information from various sources. By instructing the AI to work through the problem methodically, you get not only better answers but also visibility into the reasoning process, which helps you identify where the AI might be making errors or missing important considerations. Chain of thought prompting transforms AI from a black box that produces answers into a transparent reasoning partner whose logic you can follow and correct. Let us see chain of thought prompting in action with a grant-relevant example. Suppose you want AI to analyze how well a proposal addresses a funder's priorities. A single-step prompt might be, does this proposal address the funder's priorities? This could yield a superficial yes or no answer. Instead, use a chain of thought approach. Your prompt might be, analyze this proposal against the funder's stated priorities using the following steps. First, identify and list each of the funder's stated priorities from the RFP. Second, for each priority, identify specific sections of the proposal that address it, quoting relevant passages. Third, identify any funder priorities that are not adequately addressed in the proposal. Fourth, for each gap identified, suggest specific improvements the applicant could make. This structured approach ensures comprehensive analysis and produces actionable output. The AI must work through each step methodically, which prevents it from making superficial assessments or overlooking important elements. The explicit reasoning also allows you to verify each step of the analysis independently. Beyond instructing AI to think step by step, you can dramatically improve outcomes by breaking complex grant tasks into multiple prompts. Large tasks often overwhelm single prompts because they require the AI to hold too many considerations in mind simultaneously. The solution is to identify natural breakpoints in the work and create a sequence of focused prompts. Consider developing a full proposal narrative. Rather than asking AI to write the entire proposal at once, break it into components. First, draft the problem statement. Review and refine that output. Then, using the finalized problem statement as context, draft the project approach. Continue this sequential process through each section. Each prompt can focus on a manageable scope while building on previously completed work. This approach mirrors how experienced grant writers actually work. Nobody writes a complete proposal in one sitting. Instead, they develop sections iteratively, ensuring each component is strong before moving to the next. By structuring your AI collaboration this way, you maintain quality control throughout the process and avoid the common problem of coherent parts that do not fit together. A sequential prompting strategy structures your AI interaction as a progression of dependent steps. This is different from iteration within a single task. It is iteration across multiple connected tasks. Here is how it might work for developing a grant proposal. Prompt 1 focuses on research and outlining. You might ask the AI to review the RFP and create a detailed outline for a proposal, identifying the key sections needed and the main points each should address. After reviewing and refining the outline, Prompt 2 asks the AI to draft the first section using that outline as a guide. You provide the outline as context and specify which section to develop. Prompt 3 takes the AI's draft and refines it based on your feedback. Perhaps the evidence needs strengthening or the tone needs adjustment. Finally, Prompt 4 moves to the next section, but crucially, you include the refined previous section as context. This ensures continuity in voice, argument, and structure. This sequential approach is more time-consuming than a single prompt, but it produces dramatically better results for complex tasks. When working iteratively across multiple prompts, managing context becomes crucial. AI systems have limited context windows, meaning they can only consider a certain amount of text at once. As your project develops across many iterations, you need strategies to maintain coherence. First, summarize key decisions from previous iterations. Rather than including entire previous exchanges, distill the important choices into a concise summary that you include in new prompts. Second, include essential context in each new prompt. Do not assume the AI remembers previous conversations if you are starting a new session. Restate the key parameters, personas, and direction. Third, for long projects spanning multiple sessions, create reference documents that capture the established context. This might include the project summary, the agreed-upon tone and style, key terminology, and important decisions made. At the start of each new session, provide this reference document to quickly reestablish context. Managing context effectively is the difference between iterations that build coherently toward a goal and iterations that drift in inconsistent directions. The expansion-contraction technique is a powerful iterative approach particularly suited to grant writing, where you often need to say a lot in limited space. The technique works in phases. In the expansion phase, you prompt AI to generate comprehensive content without length constraints. Ask it to include every relevant point, example, and argument it can think of. The goal is to get everything potentially useful onto the table. In the identification phase, you review this expanded content and identify the strongest, most compelling elements. What resonates, what provides the most value, what aligns best with funder priorities. In the contraction phase, you prompt AI to condense the content to only the essential points, perhaps 1/3 the length. This forces prioritization and creates a tight, focused draft. Finally, in the selective expansion phase, you identify specific elements that deserve more depth and ask AI to expand just those sections with additional detail, evidence, or explanation. This technique produces content that is both comprehensive in coverage and focused in presentation, exactly what strong grant proposals require. Getting the right tone and style often requires dedicated iteration because these elements are subjective and hard to specify precisely in an initial prompt. AI's initial draft might be technically correct but feel too casual for a federal funder or too stiff for a community foundation. Comparative prompts are particularly effective for tone adjustment. Instead of saying make it professional, which is vague, try make the tone more formal and less conversational while maintaining accessibility. The comparative structure gives the AI a direction to move. Reference-based prompts can be even more effective. If you have writing samples that exemplify your desired style, you can include them as examples, stating here is a sample of our organization's voice, please revise the draft to match this style. Tone refinement often requires multiple small adjustments rather than one dramatic shift. You might first adjust formality, then address sentence length, then modify word choice. Each adjustment moves closer to your target. Do not expect perfect tone from a single prompt. Plan for refinement iterations as part of your workflow. Iteration can function as a built-in quality control mechanism when structured appropriately. After AI generates initial content, you can use subsequent prompts to have it review and improve its own work. In a typical quality control iteration sequence, the first pass generates the content based on your specifications. In the second pass, you prompt the AI to review what it just produced, asking it to identify any weaknesses, gaps, or areas that need improvement. Provide specific criteria for this review, such as check for unsupported claims, identify unclear passages, and flag any inconsistencies. The third pass addresses the issues identified in the review. You prompt the AI to revise the content, specifically fixing the problems it found. The fourth pass provides final polish, focusing on clarity, flow, and professional presentation. This self-review process catches issues that might otherwise slip through, and it leverages AI's analytical capabilities to improve its own generative output. The technique is particularly valuable when you do not have time for extensive human review, but still need quality assurance. As you develop your iteration skills, be aware of common pitfalls that can undermine your efforts. Over-iteration occurs when you continue refining beyond the point of meaningful improvement. After several cycles, changes become marginal and you waste time that could be better spent elsewhere. Learn to recognize when output is good enough and move on. Under-specification is the opposite problem, where vague feedback produces equally vague improvements. If you say make it better without explaining how, AI will make generic changes that may not address your actual concerns. Always provide specific, actionable feedback. Scope creep happens when the task gradually expands beyond your original intent through successive iterations. You start refining a needs statement and end up trying to create an entire proposal section. Stay focused on your original objective. Lost context occurs when you start new prompts or sessions without adequately establishing what came before. The AI treats each prompt as independent unless you explicitly connect them. Always provide sufficient context to maintain continuity across your iteration cycles. Let us consolidate the key lessons from this exploration of iterative prompting. First, adopt an iterative mindset before you even write your first prompt. Expect refinement cycles rather than instant perfection. This mental adjustment will improve both your prompts and your patience with the process. Second, use chain of thought prompting whenever you need the AI to perform complex analysis or reasoning. Instruct it to think step by step and break problems into components. Third, for large tasks like developing full proposals, break the work into sequential prompts that build on each other. Do not try to accomplish everything at once. Fourth, actively manage context across iterations. Summarize previous decisions, maintain reference documents, and explicitly connect new prompts to prior work. Fifth, develop judgment about when output is good enough. Perfectionism wastes time, but premature acceptance produces subpar results. Find the balance through experience. As we continue to lesson 15.6, we will apply these iteration skills to a specific high-value application, advanced prospect research using AI.